Welcome, foolish mortals. My name is Gladiola, and I will be your tour guide this evening through this historic and altogether haunted mansion. Now, before we begin, I feel it's only fair that I warn those of you who scare easily that you may want to, sit this one out. There may be some things on this tour that aren't entirely suitable for the faint of heart. However, for those of you who have an adventurous spirit and don't mind giving yourself somewhat of a fright, then please do join me. Now that we have that out of the way, let's proceed, shall we? This is the grand foyer of McAlister Mansion. The mansion has been in the McAlister family for a number of generations. It was built in 1752 by George McAlister. Now, if you listen very carefully, some say that you can still hear his footsteps here across the floor. Rumor has it that he would pace back and forth every night, pondering business dealings and ruminating about what he was going to do next with this glorious mansion of his. You see, this house, other than being haunted, has a number of other secrets. There are rooms that no one has ever found, stairwells that lead nowhere, hallways that are more like labyrinths than corridors. This was truly George McAlister's masterpiece. So it's not surprising that he may possibly still be roaming around, pacing the floors. Off of this main foyer, if you'll follow me, we'll venture over to the dining hall. Now, this dining hall was one of the first rooms in the house that George designed. He felt it was necessary to always have a warm and welcoming room to invite his guests. In fact, he and his wife, Alice, held weekly dinner parties in this very room. Now, rumor has it that ghostly apparitions have been spotted feasting on caviar, clinking together their glasses after eloquently spoken toast given by the former Mr. McAlister. That is, if you believe in that sort of thing. I'd like you all to take a moment to wander around the room on your own. You can view the fine china that's in the display cases. Pay careful note to the lovely tapestries hanging on the windows. They are the original curtains that was placed here by Alice herself. Now, if you would please all follow me. We'll go to the kitchen area, where all the meals were made by the resident cook, a Mrs. Brown. In fact, to this day, the Brown family still serve as the resident chefs here at the McAlister Mansion. Take notice of the beautiful fixtures and the gloriously upkept appliances. As the years have passed, the kitchen has been renovated, but much of what remains in this kitchen is original. You see, the McAlister family prides itself on heritage and tradition. They are of the mind that things should be left as they are. Some say that's because they want to appease the ghosts of their long-deceased relatives. You see, when the stove was switched out in here a number of decades ago, the story is that, well, one of the ghosts was quite disgruntled. They shifted around pots and pans for days, left cupboards open, made a mess of the place by throwing around utensils and sundries. So now, before even the smallest item is replaced in the house, a sort of seance is held to ensure that no spirits are even remotely offended. Now let's go upstairs here by the back stairwell. As you walk up the stairs and into the hallway, you'll notice a variety of portraits, beautifully painted portraits of those who have lived here. This one in particular is of Alice McAlister, a lovely woman, graceful and elegant. She had a kind spirit and a good nature. As we walk into the master bedroom, speaking of Alice, you might still hear her sitting at her vanity area over there in the corner, brushing her long auburn hair. You see, her hair was a crown jewel. She rarely put it up and left it down for all to see. She was so very proud of it. legend has it that when she grew older and it grayed, she locked herself away in this room, never to be seen again. The rumor is that it was not necessarily the graying of her hair that made her do this, but that she'd been struck by some sort of strange affliction. The sunlight made her skin burn and turn red. She had an uncontrollable desire to feed on human blood. Then again, can you really put stock in such rumors? All right, let's make our way to the next room. This is one of the guest rooms in the house, one of the few that are open to the public today. You see, many of the rooms have been shut off to us for reasons unbeknownst to myself or any of the other tour guides. This room is one of the most curious in the house. While each has its own quirks, this one is truly remarkable in that, as you'll note, all of the windows are closed. And even if we close the door here behind us, those wind chimes in the corner will still sound off as if a heavy breeze is blowing in. No one knows why or how those wind chimes move so furiously, clanging together, making a ruckus of sorts. But I find them strangely soothing. Don't you? Please take a moment to walk around. I like to pause in this room to give all of the visitors an opportunity to ensure that there aren't any windows cracked open or holes in the walls causing this breeze. Sort of a magician's trick, if you will. Proving that there really is nothing in that top hat. Now, we're venturing to Violet McAlister's room. She was the eldest daughter of George and Alice McAlister. At the age of 22, she suddenly vanished. To this day, no one knows what happened to poor Violet. She was always a bit of a sullen girl, story has it. But her parents were still rather shocked when they woke up one morning to find her suddenly gone. They searched the grounds for days, weeks, months even. But she was nowhere to be seen. Some of you may notice a knocking sound, a subtle but undeniable knocking sound. Some say that is because Violet did not suddenly vanish, but that she disappeared within the very walls of this room. That the house was envious of the love that her father and mother showed her, and so it devoured her whole, or soaked her up, rather. Of course, there is no proof to this effect, but it hasn't stopped the rumor mill from making it a sort of legend that has become entwined with the house's history. Now I'd like to show you the last and final room in our tour today. And that is the Arboretum. Now this room also served as sort of a bird sanctuary for lovely Violet, who was an avid lover of all sorts of birds, blackbirds, bluebirds, the lovely nightingale. According to records that were found from purchases that were made and such, she had around 75 birds here at one time. But strangely, the day after she vanished, so did they. When they searched this room, after the fact, all they found was a single bluebird feather on the floor. No one knows why or how the birds disappeared. There aren't any holes in the glass or really any escape routes whatsoever, but there are theories that Violet couldn't bear to be without her birds, so she took them with her, or that the house allowed her to have them to keep her company. Then again, over the years, a number of people have disappeared in this home, and each has been unexplained. In fact, the count now, I believe, is 13. Well, on that note, why don't we all venture downstairs? Some refreshments waiting for us in the foyer. Some punch. Some lovely cheese and crackers. Now, just to be safe, I ask that you all stay with me, closely following behind. We wouldn't want anyone to wander off now.